Welcome to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters. Get ready to create magic and miracles as you lean into your heart's desires. I believe not only does the heart want what it wants, but it knows. This show is a weekly deep dive into what it means to live from an awakened heart. I'll be sharing inspiring stories and real conversations with people just like you, who have turned the ordinary into the extraordinary. My mission is to show you how you too can be connected and heart-centered in every area of your life. Your journey to aligning with more love, more joy, and your wildest dreams come true starts now. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Awaken Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Nancy Walters. I am so excited to introduce today's guest, Iris Angellys. Iris is an incredible author, artist, mentor, healer, workshop facilitator, chiropractor, and applied kinesiologist with nearly 30 years of experience. Over her career, she's helped more than 25,000 patients, empowering them to cultivate a loving relationship with their bodies and to see them as allies rather than adversaries. In this conversation, Iris shares her insights on how interconnected our physical, emotional, and spiritual selves are, and how embracing our true selves can lead to a more fulfilling and meaningful life. We'll also talk about listening to our bodies, understanding their signals, and treating them with care and respect. Iris introduces practical steps to reclaim your personal purpose and passion, the power of community, and how to navigate the journey of self-discovery. Iris is the author of Your Body is the Portal to Your Soul and Passion to Thrive, where she uses archetypes to guide women through life's challenges back to their authentic and divine selves. She lives on the beautiful north coast of North South Wales, Australia, with her husband and her beloved cat, Indigo. I am so thrilled to share this enlightening conversation with you. So let's welcome Iris Angellys to the show. Hi, Iris. Welcome to the Awaken Heart Podcast.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I'm so delighted to be here.
I'm so delighted to have you here as well. And you're coming from halfway across the world, which is so incredibly crazy to me that we can just be here talking in real time and you're halfway across the world in Australia and it's a very early morning for you. So Thank you for being here. Thank you
It's
for
such a
being here. I see a
pleasure.
little light out your window. Is it
Yes,
starting to get light? Okay.
the sun will be out in probably about half an hour here.
Oh my goodness. Getting up before the light comes up. So thank you very much for being on in your early morning. So we're going to have another great conversation. And I really like what you have to offer and what you're sharing with the world with the books that you've written. And let's dive in first into your book. Your Body is the Portal to Your Soul. And I know this is your newest one where you said it's for men and women. You mentioned that our bodies are our best friends and allies. Can you explain how we can begin to see our bodies in this way, especially when we've been conditioned to see them as our enemies?
Yes. Well, let's start with the motivation, right? So your body is the only being you are absolutely guaranteed to spend the rest of your life with, right? It's literally going to be there till your dying breath. And like you said, most of us have been conditioned to look at our bodies as a tool or as something that just happens to be there, and it tries to communicate with us, and sometimes that feels unpleasant, and we've just been taught to suppress that in some way, whether it's with distraction or a screen or a pill or a coffee or vodka or whatever. But ultimately our bodies are intelligent beings in their own right. They know exactly what they need in order to thrive in 3D physical reality. They love us and they want to get our loving attention, and they want to go on adventures with us. So the first step is really to look at your body differently. Like you said, for example, you can look at your body as a cherished pet. If you have a pet, you feed it the right foods, you give it plenty of beautiful water, you take it, make sure it has the right kind of exercise and play and a nice space to rest and lots of affection and sunlight and whatever else that particular type of pet might need. So if we treat our bodies in the same way as we treat our pets, our bodies are going to feel really good and feel loved and thrive. If you think about it, our bodies are not a single entity. They're actually 50 trillion different cells. So 50 trillion different individuals that are contained in your body are all working together in order to, make this body what it is. And each cell within the body, takes what it needs for its own life and, lets go of waste and does the thing that it needs to do, in order to make our bodies function and be healthy and happy and the glorious, incredible beings that they are. So if we could just shift our mindset a little bit and, like the tagline in my book is, I don't know if I've told you about that. Your body has the answers, make it your best friend for life. Literally, if we can look at the signals that the body sends us as a request for care, then rather than as something that's inconvenient, then we can start having that conversation with the body, and then we can start feeling better in our bodies. And then life will, like our bodies will be a fun place to live, a pleasant place to live. There are other ways we can look at our bodies as well. Like, for example, we can look at it like a liquid crystal. Yeah. So our bodies are, depending on who you talk to, 2/3 to 99.9% water by molecular weight. Apparently, it's 99.9% water. All of these, have you seen Masaru Emoto's work where he exposes water to different frequencies?
Yes.
And then takes photograph of the crystals. So if you have an exposure to water that says, I hate you, there aren't any crystals. If you have a nice frequency like gratitude or love or friendship or compassion or any of those beautiful types of energies, you get these incredible crystals within the water. Now, our bodies are electromagnetic beings. So in order to conduct the electricity properly, we need the beautiful hexagonal structures in our bodies. So if we think at our bodies, oh, I hate you, or you're ugly, or I don't like this bit, then you're going to actually disorganize all the water crystals in your body. Whereas if you talk to your body as, wow, I'm so grateful that I can see, or I'm so grateful that I can prepare this meal with my hands, or that I can pet my pet, or, that I can experience the sun on my skin. And you take pleasure in these things, then the crystals in your body are going to be hexagonal and they're going to be conducting electricity really easily. And, the discomfort is going to be a lot less because of that. You can also look at your body as, I actually love this analogy. Like I think of our bodies as the densest part of our energy field. So, I mean, not everybody's on board with this, but to me, we're a spiritual being, so an energetic being living in a physical body. But our bodies are made up of molecules that are made up of atoms. Atoms are made out of mostly space and tiny little packets of energy that ultimately are actually just energy and space as well. So the body is actually a frequency and energy. It's just really dense, yeah? The slower energy vibrates, the denser it gets, yeah? So matter is just really, really slow energy. So I think of our bodies as, if you have a glass of water and you put the water in the freezer, you're going to get a layer of ice on the top. And in the same way, our bodies are the slowest part of our energy field. Yeah. So once you look at the world as it's all just energy, you can look at things like habits or thoughts or behaviors or emotion as energy as well. And you can allow the energies of those things to move through your energy field rather than try to resist them, and then they get stuck in your energy field and potentially in your body as well. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. And go ahead.
I was just going to say our bodies actually emit light. So this is not airy-fairy.
Yes.
It's actually based on science. Yeah.
Emitting light like auras, because I know I've seen plants lights around it when they just show, I'm like, oh my God, they've got like this like energy around a plant. We have it as well.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. And
When
I had heard some. Go ahead.
when you say somebody is bright, that's actually literally true. And you'll feel that yourself. Like if you are feeling bright, you're feeling expansive and, you're taking up a beautiful space. Whereas if you're feeling dark or dim or depressed or something, everything contracts, our bodies
Mm-hmm.
and also our energy fields.
And I've heard something, well, first of all, the DNA strand, when you were talking about our bodies, loving our bodies, and just if you pull the DNA strand, it would wrap around the earth. Is it 200, 2,000, or 2 million times? I don't remember. It's something insanely incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, our DNA. And then I've heard also that water somehow is in our brain. It's actually the conduit for, I don't know if it's for memory or whatever. It's seeing that it's in the water that's around your brain in the skull or
Mhm.
something. I forgot what it is. It's the conducer.
Yeah. Well, the water that we consume mostly comes from deep space somewhere, right? So if water
From
retains a
where?
memory of where from space, so
Mm-hmm.
the water
Yeah.
that we drink has memory of deep space, or it has, it carries energy from deep space where it came from, and it carries the energy of where it's been, and it carries the energy of what it is you are emitting as you're drinking the water. Like, it's just phenomenal. It's so miraculous. Yeah.
I never thought of that. I'm going to think of that. I'm going to drink my water. Space. Here. Mm-hmm. I have the Berkey filter. I love it.
Mhm.
Berkey. But yeah, yeah, water is like you need it to live, sun and water.
And air. Yeah,
So, yeah,
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
air. And
Yeah.
air, definitely
It's
air.
pretty
Yeah,
important too.
sun,
Yeah.
air, and water. Yeah, you need to be able to breathe. So, so what are some practical steps we can take to start listening to these signs in our bodies that our bodies are giving us? And how can we distinguish between what is a genuine signal from our body versus a thought driven by fear or conditioning?
This is where the title of your podcast comes in, like the awakened heart. So the vast majority of people live their lives in their thoughts and their emotions. So they feel or they perceive or they have their consciousness sort of from the ears upward. Yeah. And they hardly ever feel what's going on sort of below, in the physical body itself. This is an observation from my years as a chiropractor. So what we need to do is actually drop into our bodies, take our awareness into our bodies. And the way that we do that is put our hands on our heart and just take a big breath consciously into where your hands are. And then, go in and feel your body. But you could start with just simple things. For example, if you've been sitting down for 2 hours on the computer and your shoulders are getting tight and sore, what your body is asking you, can you please get up and move? Can we please have a break? Get up and move and have a break. If you're thirsty, don't ignore it. It's very easy to ignore thirst. Get up, have some water, and ideally give the water a blessing or gratitude before you drink it so that we can up-level those crystals. If you're tired, don't have another coffee. Have a sleep. Like the way that I have arranged my work life is that I have a long enough break that I can actually have a 20-minute nap in between morning and afternoon. And it means that, I get a second lease on life and I feel great for the rest of the day. If you feel, exercise in some way that you actually really enjoy. So that could be something that you, the being, enjoy, or it can be something that,
Can you see that?
no,
See, is that? I just wrote that on there. Can you
what's
see
it
it?
say? Gratitude?
Uh,
No, I can't see it. Sorry, hon. No.
Sorry. Okay. Anyway, I
Perfect.
wrote love on my glass. I just took.
Absolutely perfect. Yes. What was I talking about? Yeah, exercise. So find some kind of movement that you enjoy. People say, oh, what exercise should I do? Is like, do something that actually gives you joy. And that could be two kinds of joy. You can do something that the being enjoys, like if you have a beautiful place where you can go for a walk, and go for a walk. Sometimes there's a kind of exercise that you actually enjoy feeling in your body. Like I do a lot of yoga. And it's not necessarily the yoga itself that gives me pleasure, but I can feel how my body enjoys moving in all these different ways and building the strength and getting into these positions and holding them. So I know my body is enjoying it as the being that it is. And then I enjoy it as a consequence because I know that I'm nurturing my body. So it's literally just start somewhere. Like with any change that you try to instigate, start with something small and doable, right? And once you've mastered that, and it's only going to take a week or two, then start mastering the next thing. and then give it a week or two. And then slowly that way, incrementally, sustainably, you're going to start finding, ways to communicate with your body, ways to respond to your body that the body actually enjoys. If something is uncomfortable and you're reaching for something to make it go away, I encourage you to tune in and go, what's my body actually trying to tell me right now? Like, what has got it to the point to where it's starting to try to get my attention in this way? Yeah. Our bodies want to be healthy. Our bodies want to thrive. Our bodies can navigate life without our loving attention up to a point. It's like driving from A to B and you get to B and you completely have missed the entire journey and your body's just done that. Yeah. Like you've sort of driven with your subconscious mind. Bodies are the same way, like they know how to do stuff without you being present for it. But the thing is it can only go so far. There comes a point in time where something gets a bit tricky or, the body has been doing its own thing for too long. It's running out of resources and it needs a boost from you, So I would say just start creating change somewhere. It can even be as simple as, whatever your morning drink is, switch it up. If it's coffee, try a tea, try a herbal tea, try a glass of water, try an orange juice, try lemon water, try, and just notice how your body feels before and after each drink. And you might find that my body really likes this other drink, my body really likes some warm water first and then it likes a tea or, whatever it is. Be curious about this friendship that you can develop with this being that you're kind of stuck with for the rest of your life anyway. It's just a matter of changing perception a little bit and having a willingness to go, do I want to do what everybody else is doing? Which is kind of one of the words I hear a lot in my practice is, I'm getting old. And I always tell people off, right? Because it's not getting old. It's actually lack of maintenance. It's like decades of neglect, essentially, catching up with you.
Mm-hmm.
And people go, oh, well, that's normal. It's like, well, if it was normal, everybody else at your age would have the same thing. And that's clearly not the case, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people are aging gracefully and with the movement intact and with their brains intact. Like that doesn't just happen. That actually means that person has taken really good care of the body along the way. So it's like with a tree, they say, the best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. Well, the second best time is right now. So just start where you're at and just start by noticing. And then, okay, so what are the things that I can try to do in order to alleviate this? So one of the first things is just drink some water. A lot of the time, our bodies are just craving water. And if you have been neglecting water, then the best way to drink water is actually by sips. Yeah. Because that way it goes into the cells a lot more readily, rather than gulping a whole thing and then you're peeing 30 minutes later, So maybe just start by having some water. If you get a headache, maybe just have some water, If you're feeling a bit tired, maybe just have some water. And if that doesn't work, then try something else that seems obvious in terms of where we're at right now and what the obvious next step is, if that makes sense. So start small, make it sustainable and make it consistent. And the thing is, as soon as your body notices that it is getting loving attention, it's going to feel so much better so quickly because that's what's been craving your whole lives, probably. Or maybe since childhood.
So what do you say? Because so much of the world is about the external. It's about finding something outside of ourselves to make us feel good about ourselves and our body. And I like how you say it's the relationship we're always going to have with ourselves. Treat it as another entity like you would a pet. You take care of it. So there's so many things about, there's plastic. I've scrolled through the internet. I don't know if you know who on social media, what is her? I can't think of her name now, but she, there's all these like influencers that are all like in like little outfits and beautiful. I'm like, really? They do that? Like dancing or doing something really silly. And then she does something and she makes fun of it. It's really funny. But there's so much like, especially the young girls are seeing it all the time with social media. Like this perfection, and they're getting injected at 19 years old before they even have any wrinkles. How can somebody move away from getting what they see, like what's being touted at them left and right through the advertising agency? You can just think about something that shows up on your phone. So how can they cultivate something within themselves to not be, beholden to whatever the next greatest thing of beauty is? What are some things that someone can do?
It breaks my heart, that stuff. Like it really does. And like, being young and beautiful isn't really all that hard, is it? Like it's just given to you at that point. I guess that switch is not going to come until it feels hollow. Like, I think, okay, based on my experience in the start of life, I should talk about myself. I was looking for outside validation of my worth and what I was contributing. And then there comes a point in time where I realized, well, this is not sustainable. I can't be all things to all people. Most of the time, I even get wrong what they actually want from me, for starters. So there comes a point in time where you start turning inward. I'm sure you've experienced that too, where you turn inward and go, does this actually feel good? And the emphasis there is on feel. Does this feel good? Does it feel good in my body? Does it feel good in my emotions? Does it feel good in my mind? Does it feel good in my energy field? And if the answer is no, that's the time to go, okay, well, what does feel good? And I mean properly feel good, right? Like, if people take drugs, they might think they feel good when they're on the drugs. But the point is, how do they feel when the drugs wear off? That's the body's response to how that went, Like, waking up with a hangover is notoriously unpleasant. So that's the body response to the excess of the night before. So what you feel your body, basically. And if we can turn inward and have this relationship with our bodies, and our bodies start feeling good, then we're going to start feeling good as well as the beings who live in that body. And then we can get a sense of, what does the being feel good with? Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
So it's all about dropping into that beautiful heart, right?
Yes. Yes. And that takes me to where I usually ask this at the very beginning, just to what is your story and what led you to doing this kind of work and how did you find it?
Yeah. So I've already mentioned a few things. So my history of countries is quite checkered. So I'm Danish originally, and in Denmark, I was a pretty normal little average kid, nothing spectacular in any way. But then my parents split up and my mother and I moved to Spain together. So I went from being a totally average little kid to being somebody who was super conspicuous, being blonde and blue-eyed and tall, right? And the older I get, the more, that was the case, obviously. And on the back of that, I got a lot of male attention. So I always felt unsafe. And what I've realized in my, after a few laps around the sun, is that women are made responsible not just for how they think, how they dress, how they speak, how they move in the world. They're also made responsible for how other people react to that, right? So I always felt unsafe, especially because if you're, at the time, I think it's changed since, but at the time I felt like if you're a Spanish woman, it was known that you had some man protecting you, right? It was your father, your brother, your spouse, whatever. But me being so conspicuously foreign didn't, like I didn't have somebody who could walk next to me and keep me safe. So always felt unsafe, felt like I didn't really fit in my peer group at school, because I was really smart. And there was resentment around that, I felt. I'm not entirely sure that's actually true now that I'm catching up with them again and meeting them and going, wow, there's actually a lot of love here. But that's how I felt at the time, And I'm sure that most teenagers feel like they don't fit in some way, shape or form. So it's possibly just a matter of being a teenager, really. So I came out of my teenage years feeling super uncomfortable in my skin, not knowing my worth at all, feeling like I had to do and provide in order to have any worth. And then I went to Denmark for a year to study. Then I went to the UK to study chiropractic, finish chiropractic studies and work. And then I moved to Glasgow and worked there and was on my own. And all these emotions, feeling, beliefs that I had carried along the entire time came crashing into me because I had no distraction whatsoever. So that would have been a great time to sit with all that discomfort and go, okay, so what are you telling me? What are you telling me? It was telling me I wasn't loving myself, basically. I didn't know my own worth. But instead, I decided to marry a man from Australia and moved to Australia. So I left my continent, my, relatively within reach, easy reach family, my friends, my culture, my background, all of that stuff, and plonked myself in a country as far away as I could possibly go.
Yeah.
With nobody other than him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as it turns out, he's a diagnosed psychopathic alcoholic.
Oh,
so
gosh.
that didn't go so well, right?
No.
So within a year of me actually arriving here, there was a point in time where he called the relationship up for the third time. And I had the sense of, at this point in time, I can either break because that's what it's going to require to stay in this relationship, or I'm going to say, okay, this is it. And I think he was quite surprised that I stuck to it. This is it. Yeah. So I literally materialized my worst fear at the age of 27 or however old I was at the time. Like my fear had always been, standing out in the rain with 2 suitcases and nowhere to go.
Mm.
Thankfully, it was about 2 suitcases, but I did have somewhere to go and the sun was shining. So that was lucky. And then after that started this peeling back process. Okay, so what do you think I have been taught? Because I'm not going to say I was taught this because, children take everything personally and when they're learning how to live in the world. So what are these things I think I've been taught, and which ones of those actually apply and work? And the ones that don't, what do I need to replace it with? So it started a very long process of peeling those things back and getting to a place now where I do know my own worth, and I do know I don't have to provide. Like, being who I am is the ripple I'm sending out into the world, holding the frequencies of gratitude and joy and compassion and love in my heart is what's really important. And then everything else around it is really just bonus. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell, I think. The question that I answered.
Yeah. Well, for women listening who may feel stuck or unsure of their path, what is one piece of advice or wisdom you would offer to help them begin to reclaim their life's potential purpose and passion?
Yeah, so you're referring to my first book at the moment called Passion to Thrive.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so the advice, the one-liner advice is going to be, just try something new. So in that book, what I do is I present different archetypes. So an archetype is just an energy that you can embody, right? So it's a logical conglomerate of behaviors and emotions and thoughts that go together, right? So as an example, a mother, a mother is somebody who is nurturing and loving and holds space really well and all these things that we know about mothers. Now, I will also say that the archetypes are very two-dimensional in a way, because clearly no mother can be like that all the time, right? That's just superhuman. Or there can be the storyteller who, uses her words to express and to create a change in the world with her words, So in any given situation, we've come out of our growing up thinking there's a certain role that we have to play. And most of us don't even know, it could be things like the rescue, if a mother upset, I've got to make sure she's all right. Like, that was one of my personal ones, I've got to make sure she's okay. But do you though? Like, it's not really our responsibility what somebody else is going through, like, we can sit with them and we can hold them, but it's not up to us to fix that, because that's that person's job, to sit with what's wrong or what's going on for them and work their way through that. So by actually going and fixing it, you're just empowering them. Controversial, potentially. So, try different ways of being in the world that you don't usually use. Like, each one of these archetypes has a particular thing to contribute to your life. So, for example, if you are applying for a new job, I'm just going to very quickly tie in all the different archetypes here. The mother would say, okay, are you going to be earning enough money to feed the rest of your life? Will you have shelter? Will you have food? Will you have consistency? Will you have enough rest? Will you have enough, all these kind of things, basic practical things. The wild woman would say, okay, will you actually be enjoying your time there? Or is this just going to be soul-destroying slog? The warrior would say, will you be able to live your values? Will you be able to stand up for yourself, or will you get squashed, right? The healer would say, is this a place where I can be vulnerable? Is this a place where I can express compassion? Is this a place where I can be, held in my heart? The storyteller would say, is this a place where I can speak up and speak my truth? Is this a place where my voice will be heard? The seer would say, can I see any patterns in this workplace that is going to that is giving me the alarm bells that things are not quite what they seem here. Yeah. And the mystic would say, is this a way I can express my soul's purpose in this life? Yeah. And then we've got our younger self, where you can just go, would my younger self be proud of me? I do this. And we could go to our older self and go, our older self who's already been here and done that. Does she have some wisdom to offer in this context? Yeah. So, and I get it. Sometimes all you need to do is get a job so you get your basics covered, and all the other stuff, it's secondary at that point in time. But the thing is, if you do cover your basics, and then you will empower yourself, and then you can step into these other archetypes in terms of your job, that can then mean that you can align your life more with your soul's frequency, your soul's purpose. And how do you know that? Because if you're not in your alignment with your soul's purpose, life feels uncomfortable, and it's not a physical discomfort necessarily, but it just feels like there's got to be more to life than this. I wake up and I feel, oh, I've got to get up and do this thing again. How many of us do that?
Yes.
Like how important is it to have, the flashy car and the holiday home if what you pay for that is your precious time on earth, and you're paying it into something that you hate doing, that's a really high price to pay. And, I've been a cleaner, I've been an assistant in nursing, I've been a paper girl, and I actually found fun things to do with each one of those. So, that was the one that would kind of brought the bacon home, as it were. And, it was great for that period of time. But now doing what I'm doing now, it actually feeds my soul, right? And also with the work that I've done, it's now, I've been a chiropractor for 30 years, right? So I'm now at a place in my practice where I come home from work and I just feel great about it. For many years, I came home and I was just utterly exhausted because I was overgiving all the time. So even though I was in alignment with what my soul wanted me to do, the way I did it in wasn't working for me because I was pouring more energy in there than I had to give, So growing older is really good because you pick up these little nuggets of wisdom as you go, and life can get better and better as you get older. So that was something I didn't know when I was young, right?
No, yeah. It's like if I could go back to a certain age, I'd want to bring my wisdom with me because, there's a certain age I'd love to go back to, but I'd like to go back to what I know now and go back to then. Yeah. And it wouldn't even be super young. I think I would want to just stay at 38 forever. I really like that age.
Yeah.
Yes. So, as far as purpose, reclaiming purpose and power, what advice do you have for someone who feels disconnected from their purpose or power? Maybe they wake up every day or they're in a rut and feeling like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna, they just become disenchanted with life, either while it's been a long period of time, or maybe just a recent event that's had them feel disconnected. How can they begin the journey of reclaiming their purpose?
So the first thing is you need to be prepared to sit with the uncomfortable stuff. In our cultures, we have been conditioned to always got to be happy, always got to be up, always got to be pretty, always got to be, la-di-da. And life's just not like that. Sometimes life really kicks you in the guts and you lose someone or something, or there's some curveball and it just knocks you for a six, as we would say in Australia. That's not a good thing in that context, right? And the sane response in those circumstances is unpleasant emotion, whether it's anger or whether it's sadness or whether it's grief or whether it's, whatever it is. And we need to be prepared to allow that to be there. That's feedback to us about how we feel about this event that's just happened. We need to go, okay, right now life really sucks, But if you're prepared to allow it to be there, and if you're prepared to hear what it is that energy has to tell you, it actually goes, right? So the unpleasantness is only unpleasant for a very long time if you resist feeling it, if you resist it being there, if you're pretending that all is well when it's not really, right? And that's a very internal process, I think. Other people can hold space for you, potentially, but you're going to have to just there with it and allow it to be there. And the more we can allow, the quicker it dissipates. So my personal trick in life has been practicing gratitude. Yeah. So I love gratitude because it's a magical thing where the more grateful you are, the more you will find to be grateful for. You know, like you get to look at all of your blessings. Oh, wow, I really am just so blessed and so grateful and so abundant. You know, like the sun just got up, the colors were beautiful. Wow, that's the first moment of magic in the world. My cat's just destroying the furniture.
I know,
Anyway,
mine just woke up. Stay over there, please.
so the beautiful thing about having practiced gratitude for like as a conscious practice for 20 years is that now if something really difficult happens, and this year I've lost 2 dogs, one was my own, but wasn't. But you know, like anybody who's lost a pet knows just how difficult that is.
Mm-hmm.
And even while I was in the depths of the grief of that, and I can feel it coming up as I'm speaking about it, I knew that down the track when all these waves of grief have, you know, spent their energy, shall we say, and I've acknowledged it, what's going to be left is all the beautiful, joyful bits that we had together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And would I choose to not have those in order to not have the grief? Well, no. That little dog was such a big part of my life for 13 years, you know? So, you know, in the same way, if we want to step into the next most magnificent version of ourselves, we need to be prepared to sit with that stuff. Yeah. Okay, so that was advice number 1. Don't expect it to be butterflies and rainbows, because doing personal work is gritty, yeah, and it requires courage, and it requires going against everything you've ever been taught about being happy, basically. The second thing is notice what actually lights you up. Yeah, we were saying before, lighting up is literal. It's not theoretical. Like we actually emit light from our beings. So what lights you up? What makes your heart sing? What is the thing that you do? And like 2 hours later, you go, oh my goodness, where did that time go? I didn't even notice it passing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it can be whatever your quirky little thing is, you know, like is it baking a cake, or is it hanging out with your loved ones, with your friends, with your family? Is it, I'm a creative person, so for me it's all creative. Like, is it painting? Is it writing? Is it going for a walk or being in nature, meditating? Is it, and whatever it is, like that's going to guide you into being, resting in your heart more. You know, what lights you up is what you came here to do. So you don't have to make it your job. You know, like sometimes if it's your job, it can actually become a bit blah because you can't not do it. You have got choice in the matter. You know, for example, if you're a healer, right, you can go and be in a healing profession. Yeah. And that's great. But you can also be a healer and be at a checkout. You know, people will stand in your energy field and feel that energy of healing, and they're going to walk out and their lives are going to be better, you know, and you're not under obligation to provide that for them. It's just something that happens naturally. Yeah, does it make sense? So what is it that makes your heart sing? What it is it that gives you joy? And if you haven't felt joy, if your heart hasn't been lit up for a long time, what did you enjoy as a kid? You know, like what kind of kid were you? I was the kind of kid that was forever sitting in a room making creative stuff. So clearly creativity was it for me. Some kids really enjoyed going out there and playing sports with their friends. Some people were, you know, some kids really enjoyed playing board games. You know, whatever it is, just go back and go, okay, when was I happiest as a kid? And then just do that again. You know, life is a process. It's not an outcome. And the more we play with life, the less seriously we take it, the easier you're going to get in touch with your soul, right? Our souls are light-hearted, literally, like lit up from the heart, living in our heart. But they're also playful. They're also whimsical. They're also, you know, like they're having a wonderful time even when we're having a bad time, right? If we're going through a bad time, our soul goes, wow, she's really, really being courageous right now and making a different choice from what she's done so far. I am just so happy that this is going on right now and I can feel and experience all this stuff. As a human, maybe not so much, right? As a human, like, wow, this hurts. And I feel really uncomfortable right now. And this is just so bad. And I don't want to be feeling this. But, you know, if you can take yourself through that process anyway, it does get easier. Every time, sit with the hard stuff. It does get easier. And our natural state is one of love and gratitude and joy. So the more you peel through those layers of dense emotions and heavy energies and stuff that you've been carrying around since you were a kid, the lighter you're going to feel in your being, the easier it's going to be to feel your soul, the easier it's going to be to align with what your heart is desiring, which is ultimately what we're here to do, right? Or to be, rather.
That just reminded me of something that I've been using as a mantra because I'm going through some things myself personally. And it's just so much waking up at 3 a.m, not be able to go back to sleep. But I've been using this one. God, what are you calling me towards? Dissolve this fear and help me to cultivate courage. So I've been using that one a lot, and it's really helped me a lot. And also I am open to receiving assistance and guidance from my spirit guides. And thank you for showing me that this issue is already solved. So it's helping.
Because it is. On my YouTube channel, I have a meditation where we go and meet all the wiser selves. So I actually encourage you to do a process like that because they have already, like, time doesn't really exist, right? So the part of us that's already been through all of this and got all the wisdom from it is already in existence, and we can call on that, right? We can actually connect with that part and find out what these gifts are and take them. And we might not be able to articulate that at the time, but we can get the energy of it, and that's going to make it easier. Like, I know for a fact that back in the day when things were at their hardest, the older version of me was sending back energy and information and gifts and wisdom because I felt it at the time, and down the track I was there doing that. Yeah, so you can actually create benefits for your younger self energetically. There are molecules or bits of energy that travel backwards in time, right? Like, this is not weird and unscientific for anybody who's really into science, which I'm not really. Anyway, so call on your future self and just call in those gifts. I really love the trust thing. This is already solved and I know it. Like, trust for me has been really hard because I felt very much on my own when I was younger. But this year I set the intention of trust. And if I start getting anxious about something, I literally remind myself, just remember trust. And it is uncanny how every single time I get to where I need to be on time, and it's perfectly fine. Instead of the anxious me who kind of gets anywhere 10 minutes early, right? Like, the timing is always perfect. And the other thing is that I love about your little mantra there is, we have been taught that, I don't need anybody, right? I'm an island. I can do everything myself. But humans aren't actually aren't solitary beings. They're communal beings. So, we've been taught that we are these, rugged individuals who can do everything and be everything that we need for ourselves. But that's actually not how human beings roll. Human beings are communal beings, and it feels good to help another person, right? Like, when you can help somebody else, your day lights up. And for you, it might be something really small, and for that person, it might be something really big. But the point is, helping each other is a really nurturing thing for ourselves, but also for the person that's being helped, right? So, can we call on the people that, we would, we desire to be, I don't want to say need, because ultimately what we need is an energy. We don't necessarily need that from a particular person. But can we ask for assistance from somebody who knows how to do that? Yeah. And then actually receive that assistance. And sometimes it's just somebody to vent to, right? Somebody to troubleshoot with. Find somebody who does what you need to be doing really well. And then you can, have them role model for you what it is that, how they would navigate something like that. So let's not be these rugged islands. The reason why the human race is so successful is because of grandmothers, right? Like, the grandmothers help mums and bubs get into life. And that's where the glue happens between humans. We're not that different from each other. We all want to be loved. We all want to be nurtured. We all want to be feeling included. We all want to experience joy and laughter and love and community. Everything else is secondary beyond that.
One of my earlier guests, she works a lot with angels. She had one of her child passed when she was 4 years old, and she gave her this beautiful gift as an angel. And she does incredible things, but one of them are these angel cards, and it has the story on the angel card and it has a coin or something, a flip over the coin and it has a message on there. So you can order like 10 of them, and she gave me some of them, and you hand them out to people. And can you imagine someone touching your life with the like, oh, I thought you should have this. I've given out 2 already, and it feels so wonderful because you never know what it's going to do for them in the moment of life, what they're going through. So it's a gift from the angels, and and then they pay it forward. Something happens with them, and they remember that. So I think that's a really beautiful thing. Just a few more questions before we go. I did
Okay.
want to ask real quick about your chiropractic and kinesiology, applied kinesiology, and how do these practices as a chiropractor and applied kinesiologist intersect with your teachings on embodiment and soul alignment?
Okay. So applied kinesiology, if you don't know, is a technique where we use muscle testing.
Mm.
Basically find out what it is that's going on for the body and what the body needs to address that. And by doing that, you have access to all the different realms, the kind of physical, mechanical. So, like, for example, I would use applied kinesiology to find out where the spine is not working properly and what I need to do to, restore that function. You can also use it in the emotional realm, and you can also use it to find out if there's something like a supplement that the body needs, for example, something like that. So in chiropractic, we look at the body as having these triple needs: structural, emotional, and biochemical balance and health, basically. And when you have those three sorted, then it's much easier to be a spiritual being, right? Because the body's feeling comfortable. So we can use muscle testing to find out and tease out what is it that the body needs most right now to heal. So I've been a chiropractor for 30 years, and I've used applied kinesiology for 20, and it's just such a beautiful tool to use. The embodiment thing has sort of been happening gradually because I've observed a lot of people in the 30 years I've been doing this now. And I could see some common themes, and I can see, like, sometimes I get a person coming in and they look a particular way, and then they come in the next time and I almost don't recognize them because they've changed so much, right? And that's clearly not physical change, just an energetic change. And that's what makes my day as a chiropractor, right? Like, wow, this person's gone from, down in the dumps to thriving in one visit. That's pretty awesome. Doesn't happen, on a daily basis, but it's, it usually happens over a series. Anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, I'm really good at observing patterns and listening to what people say. And that's how based on my own experience as well, of course, like when I was a teenager, I was living from my eyes and ears up, and everything else didn't get a look in at all. I wasn't enjoying life at all. I was faking it because I didn't know how to access joy in my own self and my own being. So based on my experience and based on what I observe goes on in others, I can then draw conclusions. And with the book writing, it's not really optional. Like, these concepts and ideas drop in. It's like I get to see the pattern and I get to put words to it. And those words are going to sit in my head until I write them down. So that's how the books happen, like it's like it is a channeled message, essentially. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting process with writing a book is, as you're writing the book, you then get to practice what you've been preaching, right? So you get opportunities to practice what you've just written. So, like, I started out writing this second book, that your body is the portal to your soul. And now, after writing it and publishing it, I know that I relate to my body in a much deeper, much more caring and compassionate way than I did before I started writing the book, or even when I first published it. When I wrote Passion to Thrive, I thought I had a couple of these archetypes that were sort of my favorite and that I knew really well, and I knew how to really embody them. And embodiment means you take that energy and you kind of suffuse your energy field with it, so including your body. But after writing the book and really sitting with these energies, I realized I've got access to all of them. And then, sometimes, one of them is the one that's more appropriate for any situation, and sometimes not. Like, for example, I remember I was 25 or 6, and somebody said to me, "Oh, well, you're beautiful and you have a lot of wisdom, but you need to get grounded." And I didn't even know what that meant, right?
Mm.
And now Like, for example, if we've been away or something and I come home, I'm suddenly find myself cooking this food, or creating a marmalade or something. And that's me getting grounded through using the mother archetype of creating beautiful food that will then nourish my family. That's how I get grounded, And back then in the old days, like, food was something really just necessary to sustain life. It wasn't something to actually enjoy and get pleasure from. So the other aspect
Really,
of
in your life, or just in your life, it was just to, you didn't really get pleasure out of it. It was just to, like, okay, I have to sustain my life.
just
Wow.
just something to get over and done with, so I could get on with the real business of, what I was here to do.
Mm-hmm.
So my own journey's been pretty radical in that way. Now, like, the whole enlightenment through embodiment is, we're actually here to really suck all the juice out of life that's available. Enjoy the beautiful food, enjoy hanging out with your friends and your family, enjoy nature, enjoy beautiful artworks, like go to the theater or sing and dance and be really present for your life. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. Most of us aren't. That's what this whole conversation's about. Be really present for your life, experience it consciously, because then you can make choices consciously about what you want to do. Like, if we live from our eyes up or from our ears up and we get triggered, we will often fly off into an emotion or into a thought or into a behavior that we always have. But it's not usually the most conducive towards living the kind of life that we want to lead, which is one of love, joy, relaxation, pleasure. So if we can observe ourselves getting triggered and go, oh, okay, I can see what's happening for me right now. And we can take a breath and we can go, okay, is flying off the handle the most conducive thing right now? And sometimes it is, and can be really fun, actually. It can be really, empowering and diffusing. But most of the time it's not, right? What's the response that's going to give me the long-term consequence that I'm looking for here, right? While still acknowledging that all these emotions are going on, and it can be a real conglomerate of emotions. Like, we were talking about grief before. Like, with the grief, there's this intense sadness and this intense loss and this intense, missing the being. On the other hand, there's also this incredible love and incredible gratitude and incredible joy of all the things that you've shared together. And, being asked to hold both at the same time is really difficult. But ultimately, the more we can do that, the more we can be at ease in our own hearts. It's almost like the more unpleasant stuff you're willing to feel, the more good stuff you're going to get. Like, when I talk of people who are on antidepressants, they'll say, or that have come off antidepressants, they say, yeah, it took the bad stuff away, but it also took all the good stuff away. And you just walk around in this numb kind of space. And it's, well, antidepressant might be necessary for people for a period of time, but that would not be how I would want to live my entire life, basically.
Fuzzy. Well, this has been a great conversation. There was a follow-up question I was just going to ask, and I just went up my... While I'm thinking of that question, can you let our audience know where to find you, how to work with you, where your books are, if you have anything coming up that's lighting you up?
Yes. So I've got a website. It's just my name, IrisAngellys.com. And that's the kind of one place where everything else is linked to. So you can find my blogs on there, and you can find my YouTube channel. Like I said, I love my YouTube channel. It's got a lot of really beautiful stuff on it. I'm also on Facebook, called Passion to Thrive. What was the other thing? Oh, yeah, how to work with me. So I run workshops, and they can be attended either in person or on Zoom. And I put those on the website, on Facebook, and on YouTube as well. My books are pretty much everywhere in terms of the big online bookstores. Or if you want a signed copy, mind you, if you're in America, it might not be feasible from a postage point of view. But if you want a signed copy, then I'm happy to send you a signed copy as well. And what lights me up right now, I'm working on a card deck. So, and it's about how to align ourselves with the soul. So what are the frequencies, and also some of the strategies that we can use to align ourselves with our soul. And it's going to have my own artwork in it.
Oh, you're doing that. I was just going to ask who's doing the
Yeah,
artwork. How
yeah.
fantastic. I'm going to have to keep keep in touch with you to see when that deck. I've got like 10 decks.
Yeah,
My deck.
yeah. And there's a deck for
And that,
every situation, isn't there? Yeah.
yeah, and you were talking about archetypes earlier, and I immediately thought about the tarot and all the,
Mm.
all the major arcana, the minors, and then all the, the suits.
Astrology. Astrology is the same as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's they're everywhere. Roles that we
Mm-hmm.
play. Yeah. And a lot of the time they're equivalent as well. So if you can read tarot really well, then you would understand astrology really easily as well, and vice
Yeah.
versa. Yeah.
I tried for a little bit. I did 2 courses on it. I'm like, "Oh my god, there's so much to learn, to, like, remember and learn." I mean, it's a tool for your using your intuition, but maybe I don't know, I gave it up a little bit. But I really was just in love with what the tarot had to offer and
Uh,
how, the whole story of it. It's just such a beautiful story. And then I have a bunch of oracle cards, so I'm really, really cool that you're coming out with your own deck and you're doing the art. So,
yeah. It
is it
came the other
oracle
way.
or is it tarot?
It'll be Oracle.
You're
Yeah. Yeah. Oracle.
Okay, very
Yeah.
cool.
I was
Very
doing the art,
cool.
like when I do an artwork, I always think I start with a blank canvas, and I often don't really know
Mhm.
what's going to go on there. And then
I love it.
as I create it, the story comes out, and I understand what it is that bit of artwork is trying to tell me. Yeah. So that's where
Once you open up,
yeah.
yeah,
Again, it's a
and receive that.
channeled process. Yeah.
You know what? I've done some writings before. I don't know if it's really channeled, but where it's like maybe it's the higher self or I don't know what it is. It's always so beautiful. I don't know if I do it with the other hand, but I do it, and it's just such a beautiful. It's not me writing it. It's such a beautiful, like uplifting message that always comes through. So, is that the guides? Is that my higher self, or what is that when I start writing like that?
Does it matter? What matters is that it's joyful and uplifting, and
Yes.
is the message that you really resonate with at that point in time, and you can then take that energy of that message and carry it out into the world.
Hmm.
Personally, like, I have talked to my guides and angels as well, but I'm not that adept at, picking them. So I just trust that when something drops in, that comes from a being that has my thriving at heart, that cherishes me and wants to promote me going into a brighter version of myself. Yeah, so
I'm
just
gonna
enjoy the
remember.
process, like just,
I'm gonna remember it. It's always the analyzing. Well, what is this? Who is this? Wow,
yeah,
this is beautiful. What's coming through?
yeah,
Yeah. Yes.
yeah. Just
Yes. Listen to the heart. And that leads to the next question. What does it mean for you to live with an awakened heart?
It comes back to what we talked about before, which is dropping into the heart and being really, really present for my life and experiencing that. Like, I know I'm really blessed to live near a beautiful beach. And I know that I've walked that beach and come back and gone, okay, so my body got the exercise, but I didn't take any of it in. Okay, I didn't actually stop to receive and admire and revel in the beauty of it. That's not it. What it means to me is going to the beach and just seeing the beauty, feeling the beauty, feeling nature around me. And it's almost like I can then take a snapshot of that particular beach walk and take that with me and have that feed me and nurture me. So it's not complicated. It's not, it's simple, but it's not necessarily easy if you haven't got, if it's that you've been trying to get into. But I'm sure the people that listen to your podcast are aware, otherwise they wouldn't have resonated with your podcast. So
Hmm.
just being really present for what's going on right now. And that, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant as well.
Boy,
And a beautiful kitten. Hi.
this is Ava. She was just like climbing up on a shelf. That's Ava.
Oh, she's beautiful. I got my cat when she was 6, so there's a lot of kitten antics I haven't had to. I haven't had to.
Can you hear her purring?
No, she's gorgeous.
Yeah, thanks. Something else, boy. I haven't had cats or kittens because my senior cat passed, my last one in March. She was almost 20. So I know the
Wow.
grieving process. I went through it
Yeah. Yeah.
big time. And then this, one of them stumbled. My friend found one a month later, literally a month from when she passed, like found her in the woods. So, and then I got this one, 6 weeks later, so they could grow up together. So sorry about that distraction,
That's
but
okay.
I just wanted to thank you again on sharing all your insights and all your stories and, all this, how we can resonate and embody more of our body that's always with us. And it's such a, important thing. So many people are disassociated with their body. And it's something that's always going to be with us. So thank you for coming on the Awaken Heart podcast. And I'm just honored that you were here.
Thank you so much. It's been such a beautiful time to spend with you. And I really, really love your light and your vibe. So it's been a real pleasure to have this conversation with you.
Thank you. Well, we're ending this podcast and your sun should be up. Because you said it was going to be up in about half an hour.
That's
what time
right.
is it there again? Like
It's
6?
just after 7 now. Yeah.
Sun's up. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you so much. Bye.
Thank
Have
you.
a good day. Rest of your day.
Bye.
All right.
Have a good rest of your day too.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Awaken Heart podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, share it with a friend. And if you haven't already, head on over to your favorite podcast app to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, you can reach me at theawakenheartpodcast.com.